And we begin with breaking news unfolding in Florida. It's a race against the clock for emergency crews there, trying to contain a toxic leak from a wastewater reservoir. Officials fear it could spill millions of gallons of contaminated water. Right now, hundreds of homes remain evacuated around the Piney Point Reservoir in Palmetto. That's about 40 miles south of Tampa, Florida. NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber joins us now with the late-breaking details there. Ellison, what can you tell us?
Hey, Aaron, there's a press conference going on right now. It should be wrapping up any minute. And what we have heard from officials in this press conference is that there is potentially a second leak identified in this main pond, main reservoir that has been leaking. The director of public safety in Manatee County says inspection drones were flying over the reservoir around 2 a.m. when they started to notice some sort of thermal signs that there could potentially be a second seepage, a second leak in the pond that has been leaking for the past couple of days now. They say that they are trying to get engineers to the site to determine whether or not there is, in fact, a second leak. But for now, they are still investigating that and trying to figure out exactly what is going on. They had to evacuate the area this morning when they first noticed it. So they're now just getting back into the process of trying to see if there is, in fact, a second leak. But again, signs from an inspection drone this morning picked up indications of a potential second leak here. Here's some more of what we've heard from officials.
Manatee County Emergency Operations Center remains at a level 1 full activation with all ESFs reporting here to the Emergency Operations Center. The Florida Department of Emergency Management coordinated the deployment of approximately 20 pumps to the site, and most or all of those are expected to be online by the end of the day.
So there are actually 3 different reservoirs or ponds in this area. The South Pond is the one that has been leaking. It started with about 480 million gallons of wastewater. As of yesterday evening, they'd gotten that down to about 300 million gallons of wastewater. But potentially, especially when you're thinking about the possibility of a second leak here, one of the other potential concerns is, while they say they have the controlled releases happening and they feel like they have the situation a bit under control with this primary main pond, you have 2 other big ponds, big reservoirs that make up about a billion gallons of wastewater that, if we see a collapse in this South Pond and if something happens with this potential second leak, where you could see structural issues, perhaps other kind of rolling ramifications from one collapse if we do see the South Pond go down, because there are 2 other big reservoirs full of wastewater as well.
Wow.
Aaron?
Really not the news we wanted to hear out of this area, Ellison. I know that there have already been a lot of evacuations there. Now we have this potential second leak. What do we know about how many homes and buildings are really at risk right now?
So there's a jail within the evacuation zone, and initially the sheriff was saying that they were going to just move everyone up to the 2nd floor. They did start to evacuate inmates yesterday, and it seems, based on this press conference, that they have evacuated most, if not all, of the inmates at that jail at this point in time. There are 316 homes within the evacuation zone, and they have been telling people who are in this area to leave home. Not necessarily everyone has opted to do that, but they are telling them they really should heed warnings, because worst case scenario, they have said there could be a wall of water some 20 feet high. Aaron?
And Ellison, what do we know about the water and what's in the water there?
Yeah, so this is where things get a little bit confusing. This is an old idled phosphate plant. At one point, they were making fertilizer here. So if you look around the pools of water in these videos, you'll see kind of like very big white walls. Those are known as gypstacks. That is a byproduct of making fertilizer, and it is radioactive. The water, the pond of wastewater, sits inside of a liner on top of those stacks. Officials say that the wastewater itself is not radioactive. They say that it is largely salt water, rainfall, and some wastewater that is also a byproduct of the process of making fertilizer. But there are high levels of nitrogen in it, and a big concern is that as that water is pumped out into the bay, that can lead to really negative environmental ramifications and potentially produce harmful algae that kills a lot of marine life and has hurt in the past tourism in these areas.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.